Well, it's great to have you on Expresso Talks. How are you? How's things going, Rocky?
Great, Jonathan. Glad to be here. As you know, I'm not afraid to talk. And, just you've been doing a great job. Before we get started, I want to just say you've been doing a great job as president of Vivid and just the hands-on activities like Expresso Talk. And you're the, you're is what Vivid is all about. You're not getting paid to do this. You're here to help share your knowledge with the community, and you've got an enthusiasm about you that kind of takes it beyond just software. So I'm glad you're part of the organization.
Oh, absolutely, and it's the same. It's a bit interesting because you've been. How long have you been part of Vivid now?
Well, I officially I joined as a member in 1997, went to my first conference in 98, and I worked for a small partner. Uh, we had a consultant who had the vision to take us from networks to network management with the OpenView products, and it's changed my career. And the next step was, you know, finding out more about how do I bring customers together to learn from each other and share best practices in a physical networking environment. And I said, well, I don't know how to do this. I'm a sales guy. I'm not technical at all. And so I went to Chicago, where there was prior to Vivid, it was called the OpenView Forum. And at that time, all these partners were joining up with customers. That was a requirement to start a user group or a lug. So I went to Chicago and I saw Jim Murphy from Pepperweed at the time and Henry Wojak from Walgreens putting on a lug event. And the room was just packed with all these customers sharing stories, learning what was new from the vendor. And I said, I can do this. So I went back to Columbus, talked to the HP people, and I said, look, I need a room and I need you to invite all your customers and we're going to get together. And that was 1999. And then I did it, and I'm still doing it. In fact, we're planning a virtual lug event for Michigan, I think, next week. But it's been over 20 years.
20 years, and we're 25 now, which is a big accomplishment. And you mentioned there kind of how we started off as OpenView, and then Mercury, and then we went into HPE, and now the Micro Focus family. And it's interesting because things have changed over that time. The customer's always been at the center, really, of everything that's been done. But what you've seen from the community growth, I guess is phenomenal as far as maybe marrying, because I know you've got a wealth of experience when it comes to the IT operations management stuff, so the ITOM, and we always refer to your expertise whenever we're doing planning any events or any kind of questionnaires or anything around that stack. Have you seen the communities change with the ITOM products as well?
You know, that's a Vivid's always been about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So if you want to hear the truth, you come to Vivid. You want to hear real world, you come to Vivid. And the real world aspect of ITOM has changed dramatically. I mean, these were I forget the term off the top of my head, but it was the showcase product breaking into the enterprise. It was network management. It was the first thing people needed to learn about their environment. And then we got into operations management, and these two products kind of came together. I think HP created these in-house back in the mid 80s. And by 93, I was in the first class to be certified as a partner for these products. And thank God we had a smart consultant who kind of guided me into my career, or else I'd probably still be selling hardware alone. And but it's changed a lot. There's a lot of products out there, a lot of open source, a lot of other products that have been very focused in that one niche where, HP, HPE, and now with Micro Focus, they've got a whole suite of products. They filled a lot of gaps through the years, and sometimes doesn't always get the attention that a single product may need, just like in your Mercury solutions. You guys were very focused. You had a strong community of members, and it became corporatized, I would say. But I think I've seen in the last few years where there's been a big emphasis on modernizing these products in a way that the end users can understand how to use them and maybe integrate them with the other solutions that Micro Focus has come through with big data, with security, all these other products that are now melted into the ITOM suite, operations orchestration, the automation of tools, and the tool processes of not making it so mundane to follow every connection to make sure it's working. So I think what's hard, because it's all been kind of diluted because there's so many solutions, I think the enthusiasm has been diluted as well. When in 2008, when HP acquired the Mercury solution, you guys were fired up. You were very science oriented versus the ITOM folks were more, they came out of the network, they were plugging in cables, and all of a sudden they had to learn a software tool. So they weren't software engineers per se, but it evolved. And I think they wanted it simple, but it got complicated because the world got complicated. So I'm hoping, we look at our membership from a Vivid perspective, and, worldwide, I run the APM SIG. I'm one of the leaders for the APM SIG. I'm one of the leaders for ITOM, or Operations Bridge, the two core products, one of the two. And we also have the network management solution. These products were all there from, 1990. And, we've got 7,000 to 10,000 members prospectively, and some of these 5,000 to 10,000 members that follow these special interest groups to learn, where are these products going? Do I continue to use them? I know management's getting pushed to go in a lot of different areas. So I'm hoping that, the one thing that doesn't change is we're all people, and we all still want to network. We all still want to learn things. You're young. You've got a whole career in front of you, and you need to know what's going on so that you can stay on top of it. I learned a long time ago that if you stop learning, you're going to start falling backwards. It's going to go downhill. And so you have to keep moving forward in your knowledge.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting what you're talking about, because, I started off in the 90s, X-Runner, and then moved on to WinRunner. And it was a phenomenal community, I something that I've not actually seen since, really. Part of their support platform, to me was groundbreaking. And, I was actually, I got my weekly call with the Gamification Alliance team. But they made gamification fun back in the 90s. You came on, you got points, you could redeem those points for a Mercury mug, or a Mercury key ring, or Mercury backpack, which it's all swagger that you could, your brand awareness, you were showing the tools and your passion towards them. So daily I would be on there. I'd be on the submitting ideas and replies to people who maybe put a post about where they're getting troubles. Everyone was coming together to help. And I saw that enthusiasm, and then there'd be forums, and then I think things have changed over time that actually was so easy self-serve our kind of material that we don't kind of rely as much on the community. And I actually think that's a bit of a shame, in the sense of, yes, you can go and grab some code from your GitHub or some other repo. You can quickly go and find out why this error's coming back on LoadRunner or another product and get it resolved in 10 minutes. But no one talks there about good practice, about the pitfalls that, potentially you don't have to learn from, right? When I started in the 90s, I found myself a mentor, a guy called David Dubosky, who was based out in Florida and in Boca, and he'd been doing automation for 5 years, and it was amazing that we were communicating backwards and forwards by email at the time. Whenever I was stuck, he would help me out, if it was something code related to WinRunner. And then failing that, we had the community to fall back on, and then of course the first and second line support, and we were able to accomplish great things. Part of it was we learned all sorts of patterns that we wanted to share. I did the UFT book, which was called a cookbook, because I wanted to share those patterns with people to say, don't reinvent the wheel, right? You utilize this instead of, rebuilding your framework every time you do it. And, we're very good, I think, as now and self-sufficient that we can, everyone's kind of goes off, they grab a framework, they, get something to work, they kind of maybe Google a little bit about what DevOps is or what Agile is, and then they kind of just mirror whatever they read. And that doesn't always mean that they're following the best of breed approaches. That just kind of says that they're self-serving and a methodology. And I think this is where sitting down in a room with other people of similar size organizations in similar verticals, if you're talking fintech or insurance or financial services, and you've got a company at a certain size, like we had at the ALM Octane group, which was running this week in London, part of it is you need to be able to share those stories that are applicable to your enterprise size. It's not a small fix for a small team. This is now a global organization, and these mistakes can potentially cost millions of pounds if they're not implemented correctly. And I think that lost art of having a community and people to share those blueprints and ideas and methodologies and good practice is something that maybe is holding things back. We're very kind of focused on doing things quickly and getting stuff in, and maybe we're not having the time to really think about, is this the right way of doing it? And also this kind of move between kind of open source and enterprise grade products is, there's especially if you're you're a unicorn, there's this kind of perception that everything has to be cheap, quick, dirty, kind of, everything's open source, everything's free. We're not going to invest in a product which is going to take us on that journey and support us through the next 5 years. This is throwaway technology that may last until the next round of funding. And I think those organizations and large enterprise organizations still have a lot of things in common, and I think the platform for sharing those ideas and lessons needs to continue, and even if it's in a virtual format.
Well, it's kind of funny. When I was a lug leader, it became a sales thing. I found ideas of how to talk customers into us using their facilities to have a lug event, because people love to go and see other customer sites. I'd say, be nice if you could present your solution. Well, we can't share too much. I said, well, share what you can. Or I'd ask people to speak. Well, I'm afraid to speak in front of people. I said, well, do it sitting down and don't face us. Whatever. Well, I can only talk for 2 or 3 minutes. Fine. And 2 hours later, you can't get them to shut up. But there was a whole process about making all of this stuff work. And I got so involved with Vivid because you felt more appreciated by the Vivid team than you did by your own team at work. And anything you did was appreciated because you volunteered your time. And before I knew it, I was growing our lugs in Europe, in Canada, as well as in the US, from 8 or 9 lugs to, I think I got it to about 24, 25 by the time we started getting staff more involved in running these things. But, it's just, and the relationships in the process have been, I still am friends with people that I was involved with 20 years ago. They're not with the, in our area anymore, or they're off doing other things, but we're still friends, and it stays connected. And like you said, you've networked with so many people, and part of that is because of this community gives you a vehicle to meet people and to present yourself in a way that will help grow your career. I can't tell you how many times I would put on an event and someone from another company would say, hey, you want to come work for us? Or if, their solution went in a different direction, but they had the skill set in our space, they go, now I know I can find someone, another company, to grow my career. I know people that have been doing the same thing for 20 years. So from that aspect, Vivid's been great.
Yeah, and I think the continuization, and I know we're going to talk a little bit around the new CAP initiative, but a lot of things are going virtual, and I noticed that it's not always the best platform to really get that level of interaction. We've just had Universe. People want to ask questions. And I think it's really healthy to ask questions. Part of why would I want that functionality, or explain to me why this, how we would apply that in what kind of context, because part of this is it's like a drill or something, right? The idea is you could do amazing things with it, but you still need to have some guidance around, maybe watch some YouTube videos on different projects you can do and how to use the equipment. But there is a lot of this kind of this sledgehammer approach. Part of this thing what I talk quite a lot about, evolution over revolution, is it's not a rip it all out and start again. It's you're continuously evolving, and so are the products. And that's really exciting, because people like myself and people who are passionate about like yourself, about the products, they want to know when OO and UFT comes together to form a new RPA platform. Well, what does that mean now? What does that mean? Well, it means I can leverage everything that we've done and invested over the years on OO, and then from a dev perspective, we can leverage the UFT platform to come together to be able to actually help us from a business perspective. Huge opportunities, but people want to say, well, what does that mean for healthcare? Well, what does that mean if I'm, for my company? How do I take it from level 0 to level 1 and start using it? And then once I've got to 1, how do I make it a bit more mature? How do I, prove the ROI? How do I, communicate this? I think the great example with the former president, Richard Bishop, he's an advocate internally for his company for some of for the products, because he literally kind of sees the value, and he talks, he sells it internally. And I think that's really important, because you can get a big powerful product, use it in one particular context, and not even think about all the other possibilities that you can use it. Whereas now, I know Richard's getting, Lloyd's using it for help desk staff who need to reproduce a mobile problem, but they don't have an iOS device with this particular version on it, and now they just access Richard's lab. I think that's where the value is that it's you're in the silos, your head's in the sand. You want to pop up and you want to kind of look at what the art of the possible is, and without people inspiring you and sharing their stories, because that's what it is. It's storytelling, and I think that's such an important thing, and it needs to facilitate in a new kind of way to make it more interactive with more people, and have a greater reach.
Well, the one thing that we've been, Jonathan, is consistent. We've been here for 25 years. It's a lot of the same people that, we're growing our career along with our members. And, these products can be bought and sold. They went from HP to HPE to Micro Focus, and who knows where they'll go next. But the Vivid community has always been there for these technologies. And, one of the missions early on, once a lot of the mergers took place in around 2008 with Mercury and Peregrine and Opsware and all these different products, was to make sure that we had lugs that supported all aspects of our community. And it's tough. It's tough to find people to volunteer and to bring people together. But, over the last couple of months, Zoom has been a great tool to have these interactions. Is it perfect? But grassroots is no. Grassroots are perfect, but it's true. It's real. It's real world experience, and that's the key. People don't need glossy and pretty and a 10,000-foot view. They want to know, how do I make this product work better so I can still keep working here and supporting my company that's paying for me to learn how to do this. I can't tell you how many times I would tell people in our user group, I go, your company just spent $500,000 on technology for you to grow your career. Take advantage of it. Just don't, break the ice. Get in there, learn how to use these tools, and you can take that toolbox with you anywhere you go. So you're right. It's a lot about that. And, talking about the, times we're in and finding ways to reach our members, that's where the CAP program came along. So, back in 2008 and prior to that, the America's conferences for these tools were run by Vivid. We would run the conferences. We'd have board members review all the prospectuses of all the sessions, and they would pick out the best ones that were the most relatable to the user community, and we would put on these conferences. Well, back in 2008, Mercury came along. They had Vegas for the next 20 years. So they said, well, we don't need you to do that anymore. You need to come up with a list of deliverable services that you can offer partners and Micro Focus on how to best, grow the community, keep them supported. And we came up with the Vivid Engage program, and that started about 8 years ago. And it's evolved, and we offer all these services to Micro Focus and to partners to reach a targeted audience. And with the last couple of months, everybody being stuck at home, nobody can go visit customers, people can't get together, we decided to take our top 4 or 5 services and put it into a special pricing model under this CAP service. So CAP is short for Customer Awareness Program. People need to know what services you're offering, what products you're offering. I don't care if it's locally, globally, targeted to a specific special interest like testing, ITOM, security, big data, whatever. We can slice and dice our membership base because they need to know about you. They need to know that you have a service that they could benefit from. And they won't know unless you get out there and make yourself aware. And these, like you said earlier in the conversation, we have to find new ways, and our partners have to find new ways to reach an audience. And today it's virtually. And Vivid's been doing this for a long time. We've been putting on webinars, all kinds of different versions of webinars. And just like this talk today, it's our Expresso talk. Of course, we may need more Expresso because we're going to keep going here, but it's just another opportunity to let people find out what you're really about. And so we've got a number of services related to this called CAP services. And we took probably 4 or 5 of our top ones, and I'll kind of list them here, Jonathan, our webinars. Typically these things are an hour long. They're $6,000. We record them. You can reuse them. There's customer interaction. There's back and forth, and it's just a great thing for partners and Micro Focus to share, in their library of things that they've talked about. Well, during this COVID crisis, we dropped the price to $3,500. It's just bare bones. We still market it in our social media. We e-blast our membership at close to 38,000 if it's worldwide, because it's a webinar, and we record it for you and do whatever you want. Another popular topic is our e-blast. So this is an e-blast can go out globally if you are a global partner. or you can go locally if you're in the US or Canada or in Germany or the Middle East. And it's roughly around $850 to send out a message, maybe a link to your website that points to a white paper or a virtual event that you're planning. Uh, Globally, it's $2,500 from where it was before. So uh, just a full range of things. And the other, probably the big thing that we see is a lead newsletter article. So you're in our newsletter once a month, or it's just for 1 month at a time, and you get the top spot. Again, it's going out to 38,000+ members, and you can write about something, a new update or a new solution or a new use case scenario, anything that will get members aware of what you do and how you do it. And again, we probably have close to 30, 40 different services that we can talk about down the road, but we've dropped the prices to bare bones just to get people thinking virtually, helping them get comfortable reaching out to people this way. And, just like we're doing today, we have the tools to do this for our members.
Yeah, no, I love Cap. It's kind of not just because I star in the short video clip cartoon we did, but part of it was kind of, to me, was two or three things. Was, you might be, kind of, especially if you're listening to either the Expresso talk or the live stream, you might be thinking, well, part of it is that, maybe I'm not part of the community. Well, what's the problem? We all get a whole stack of spam, right? I don't even want to know what LinkedIn's hit me today, asking people selling services. And, I get emails and, it's not really targeted. I think partly what the problem was this kind of just machine gun approach of just, shooting out messaging, which, isn't relevant to you. And one of the things we've done, and we're going to be doing very soon, because we're going to sending out a questionnaire to kind of get more interactive with our exactly, I'm going to call it boutique, but more kind of personalization for our members. And we do this for kind of two things. One is, as you kind of pointed out, you might be interested in products, and that was kind of how we did it in the past. Was, if you're interested in UFT, ALM, Octane, something like that, update your profile, and then the local user groups or the specialist interest groups, if they were covering that topic, you'd get update that there's a new UFT 1 version, and we're doing this AI webinar, and Chris Trimper's speaking, and it's go and check it out, and you'd be like, awesome, awesome content. It's always been awesome content, and it's always going to be awesome content. This is just the step above that. Is I'm going to give the example of someone who's just done one. So the one that we did recently with Hugh Price, who's a good friend, is a product which they've developed, which works directly into ALM Octane, right? And it also directly integrates into UFT. So they are a technical partner, a technical alliance partner, so a TAP on the TAP program of Micro Focus, and they build their products to integrate with the Micro Focus suites. So what they're doing is they're not duplicating functionality, they're actually enhancing your capability. So if you're wanting to do model-based testing, or if you're wanting to, migrate stuff from your old ALM repository to an Octane platform, they're there to help you with that journey. And that's what the partners are. They're not, they're partners who are Micro Focus partners who have built solutions around the Micro Focus stack that can provide enablement and kind of fill in the gap, bridge the gap between the products. And that, to me, is essential, right? That is the kind of, to me, is either the, I'm not going to call it hacks, but I'm going to call it, the power tools that you want, right? And you also want this, tips and tricks. And that's the other thing is, if you're e-blasting somebody, and like we said, we can work out if you're wanting to run an event and it's outside the New York area, or you want people who are just in insurance or in financial services or just in healthcare, then we can target those people with messaging that is about a white paper that you've just put out around, lessons learned from, COVID and things that we're doing. Chris has been demonstrating a universe last week with using UFT. And to me, that is the perfect content that I want delivered. And at the same time, it recognizes you, the company and the partner out there who's actually working hard with customers to actually put these implementations, and are more than happy to jump on a call with you and actually help you, get from 1 to 0, or from 0 to 1 to kind of, or beyond, at the maturity level. And I think that is incredibly essential. And I think it's also worth kind of mentioning is this kind of blurring the lines between products, because, so like you said, it's diluted a little bit because there's so many products. I remember talking to Jerome, who's the CTO of Micro Focus, and kind of asking him, well, what's the product count now? And it was over 300. There's a lot of products in there, a lot of heritage products, a lot of next generation products coming through. Micro Focus pride themselves about the fact that they don't end of life any of those products, which means they need the support, the user groups, people who are still, and I'm going to use the word still, but it shouldn't be. Legacy is your legacy, but things like COBOL, that is still a key attribute. When I was in South Africa with Vivit, this 20-year-old came up to me and said, do you have any information about COBOL? Do you have any COBOL user groups? And I said, yeah, we've got a new COBOL user group. We've got loads of resources. Come and look. He said, yeah, I've just started a COBOL development company. And my dad was a COBOL developer, and it's become that kind of like doing thatched cottages. It's kind of a trade that's passed down within generations. And like you said, it becomes a career because these tools and platforms are across so many organizations, and they're not going anywhere, because that heritage legacy is your legacy, is that those products are the backbones of most organizations, still running 90% of all transactions. COBOL, they're so critical to most large global organizations. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because I remember when tips and tricks were the thing you wanted, right? You wanted the kind of the little kind of things. Oh, did you know there's an app in here which does WinDiff, or something that was part of the product, but you didn't realize that functionality was in there. And that was always surprising within the products, because they were so big. You kind of, other people could share their experience of using terminal emulation in UFT, or functionality which you just didn't know about. And we did a talk, I think, last week at the Universe event around the new AI capabilities in some of the products. And for the people who aren't using AI or learning to use that new technology, is, again, they want to know where to start, how can they have a crack, how easy can they download, install them, and get them running, which we did. I did a live broadcast, and we did it in an hour. Part of it is you need things like that, because they're those kind of, what the new generation are looking for. They're looking to go into YouTube, looking to grab fast forward it a little bit to the part where they got stuck, and then get past the problem. They need that kind of new content. And as I know we're kind of running out of time, but part of it was, this new virtual content is also new types of formats as well. We're trying to do the virtual clinics. We've got Damien, who's does workshops for communication and how to improve that. And these are all free for Vivit members. Everything is free. So, coming and asking these, thought leaders and people who are, expert leaders in the field about, having a forum and bring all your questions there. That's exactly what people want. They want the clinics to help them. They want the virtual events, the virtual lugs, to be able to still keep in touch with the people in Chicago and everywhere else. And it's just so important. I know you've got lots of experience on this, but have you seen the shift towards lugs? Being virtual lugs being a big change for the community.
Well, I think once they get comfortable doing it, I remember doing a physical lug, and knowing that we couldn't just get everybody there, so we would try using GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar kind of tool in the room, pointed at the screen, and it was kind of effective, but kind of not, but better than nothing for those people that couldn't attend. But I think with tools like we're using today with Zoom, and people are starting to do it personally with their families and friends. And I mean, I started doing this with my college fraternity brothers last month, and every Friday, everyone grabs a drink, and they're seeing new faces that they haven't seen in 40 or 50 years because their kids show them how to set up the computer, or their wife or something, and they're having a ball. So I think that technology today is making it simpler to do this. And like, again, we had an event for the Ohio lug a few weeks ago, and I haven't done the lugs there in a long time. I think we had a few things going on last year, but it's tougher to get people to physically get together. And part of that is, unless you can target the presentations to a certain aspect of the ALM suite or a certain aspect of the ITOM suite, and by doing that, you limit how many people will want to attend, if they can attend. And so you're shrinking the number of people that can actually benefit from this in a physical event. I think physical events are the best way to grow and learn about the community. I mean, I did this because my customer said, where can I go and learn how others are doing this? And I said, okay, let's figure it out. I mean, I knew nothing about this, but I did it. And I did it for 20 years, and people thank me every day for bringing us together. So now we have to do it virtually. And, we had a good turnout for our Ohio event a few weeks ago. And the membership there is like, I don't know, 400, 500, 600 members. So, if we get people to attend virtually, they can listen for an hour. It was just a lunch over the lunch hour, and just one presentation, but it can lead to anything, any topic. And so I think it's coming. I think it may be a way to pull them away. I mean, there's just so many distractions today compared to where it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's so much the biggest problem was, if we could only have a video recorded content that we could look at. It was hard to do back 20 years ago. And now there's just too much. There's too many areas to get lost in, but you got to put the blinders on and focus. If your area, your company bought a UFT and it's got to integrate with all these other things, you've got to focus on your technology, and we're one of the ways to do that. So, we got a great team. They've been together a long time with Stephanie and Jill and Rhonda, and just Iris now, and Terry, and they know how to support the community, and we know how to make you look good. So I think it's come a long way.
Yeah, no, obviously massive thanks to the kind of the staff who work tireless, just helping everyone really. They'll jump onto absolutely anything. We've had people over the last couple of weeks talking about wanting to set a new lug up in Brazil. The German, thanks to Iris, is reinvigorating the lugs in Germany, because which is incredible, one of our most active anyway. But now they want to set up another lug, specialist interest group around SMACs. Because it's a big area for them. We've talked about some of the kind of virtual capabilities we're offering, but to go with the virtual clinics, we're also looking at virtual customer advisory boards to kind of get feedback to Micro Focus, because not everyone can attend those. But we want to help your suggestions of product enhancements that you want to see, and also virtual industry events. That could be down to healthcare or a particular vertical. It could also be a particular kind of specialist interest group area as well. So virtual SIGs. And I think, I did a podcast yesterday with one of the guys who did chaos engineering at Netflix and Amazon, and he was saying, well, chaos engineering is such a big thing, and I was asking him about, well, what does that mean from an ops perspective? Who owns site reliability engineering? Is it a development task, an ADM kind of stack product, or is it actually an ITOM product? And he was kind of saying, well, actually, yeah, it goes across both, but ITOM and operations is where systemic failure and all these kind of complex systems, you need to put those experiments in to prove, well, what happens if a gateway goes down, or a payment system goes down, or a third party integration goes down. You can monitor it with your APMs and your tools, but how do you get to that point where you can understand how the systems kind of are able to cope with it? So to me, there's all these fascinating new topics that bring product families together to kind of have to think about, well, security, well, what happens when this system's getting a denial of service attack? Suddenly it's more than just automation over here. It's actually automation's over here, and it's over here, and it's also in your APMs and your PPM tools. You're seeing it across the board with the new Micro Focus RPA tool as well. And I just think, like you said, there's a laser focus in, but you've got you might be an automation engineer, but now you didn't even realize you could be doing stuff in IT operations as well. You could be doing things with RPA to further your career. You could also have it specific to a particular context. So you could be in healthcare, and you've got loads of API testing, which you've got to do now with all the different health codes. And you want to ask people who are in those same industries how what the good practices are and what those patterns are. And this is the time to get involved, because I think if you're a solution provider or you're a partner at this point in time, and you've got a solution around chaos engineering or automation, you need to tell people, because it's going to help them to help you, because you need to get that feedback as well. You need to kind of go, well, we're learning this and we're seeing these problems. How does your tool solve this problem? How do all the tools come together to solve that problem, and bring people who, like myself, aren't as familiar with IT operations to understand, well, actually, there's so much more benefit if we look at, the lean engineering of reuse of all those products across a product family. And, I think it's too complex for one person. Why don't you come together with the community and actually solve it together as a community?
Well, the more you put into it, like I'm referring to Vivid, the more you get involved, it's just going to help you grow your career. I've seen it over and over and over again over the last 20 years that I've been involved, and just watching people, almost come out of their shell as they start communicating. They're smart people. Karen Simonson, past president, coined the word the best and the brightest. That was our Vivid members. These people had the experience year in and year out, where, the teams and marketing and field marketing for the vendor come and go, but the practitioners and the management team that work with these tools that are Vivid members, nothing beats consistency and experience. And that's what our membership is based on it. And so if you're young in the IT world, and these tools have fallen on your lap, we are a great asset to have in your toolbox, to be part of this organization and to get to know not just your local community, but the global community of these people. And, I've been fortunate to, in the good old days, to come to Europe every year for Universe events and bring leaders from the Americas there to help learn about the European leaders. It was just a great experience. And so I encourage people to, if this is their career, get beyond the covers, beyond the GUI, I used to say, and learn the technology, learn every aspect of it, and grow your career.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key words that you kind of said there was practitioner. We have so many practitioners, and there's so many influencers in there as well. Part of it is, if you're part of that practitioner and you're building that trade 10, 15, 20 years, you can share your experience with other people. It's a perfect platform for that. but it's also kind of like we said, those lessons learned. Those that where it's gone. We know the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of thing. And I think it's worth. I know there's a lot of probably partners who may listen to this who kind of go, well, yeah, I want to I want to communicate with the actual community, and I want to explain to them what we're doing in DevOps, how we're working with the different tool chains at Micro Focus. What's the best way to kind of reach out to you or the team to kind of just chew the fat and kind of find out what would be the best way for them to approach it?
Sure. Well, on our website, if they go to www.vivitworldwide-org, they'll see the CAP program as one of the pull-down tabs, and my email is there, and it's rocky.pisto@vivitworldwide.org. But, I tell partners there's two options. One is the CAP program or Engage program that we've had for a number of years to provide you with exposure to the community. And the other is to volunteer your time to be a lug leader in your area, or a special interest group leader, or which is more of a virtual targeted to a specific product area, where you put on a couple of meetings a year, you get involved in the community. As a sales guy, all those years for this small partner, for me, working with Vivit was just the greatest exposure, and all I had to do was be a sales guy. I had to bring people together, help them learn, best practices through other people, and it was easier than, hello, would you like to buy something? And so it was just a great way to reach the community, to find out what they were thinking, and are we heading in the right direction? Do we have the right solution that may help them? And I've worked with a lot of partners that way. So this should be a no-brainer for partners to get involved. You can't find a more targeted customer base if you're a Micro Focus partner than working with Vivit. And again, we can work on virtual events like we're doing today. You could sponsor an Expresso talk. And we have that opportunity where Jonathan will interview you, talk about what you're doing with your technology, and how you're helping people, and things like that are a broad brush into a targeted audience that gives you some great exposure. And this goes to channel partners as well as alliance partners, as well as Micro Focus product teams that have a new solution that they're introducing. Just a great way.
Yeah, I definitely reinforce the brand awareness aspect. I know that's why we kind of put customer awareness in there, but brand is so important now, and getting your message out to people is harder and harder. With this kind of, you automatically become quite blind of adverts, and even when you're searching for something, you're looking for a particular page, you can miss the advertisement spend which you might do on Google or something like that. This is real users, real practitioners who are using the products, in your area, who are passionate about these tools, want to know more about the area that you're in, and it really helps you kind of laser focus the messaging so that you aren't ringing up or cold calling somebody. You're literally having a conversation to say, you've got a problem, you've got a challenge, you've got an opportunity, you need help. How can we support you as a partner, as a Micro Focus partner? And it's amazing to hear, when even all the way back to the product management team at Micro Focus and Rafi's team or whoever, Travis's team, they're literally going, oh yeah, this partner did this and showed us this really good example, and you get on their radar. They want to work with you more. They kind of, the integrations and the marketplace are so important to Micro Focus. They don't want to build everything. They want to build the products which they need, and they rely on partners to do widgets and special kind of areas that will help with their product. And I think there's so much opportunity there. and it is so important to get your brand recognized as a partner. It's really important, and I think these platforms, and like you said, even something like the Expresso talks, you do a 15-minute slot, talk about what you're doing, the challenges that you're helping customers with, your real life expertise, and we're putting it on Twitter. It's going out onto different platforms. The reach just becomes huge, and the work that Jill and the social media team do to kind of get it onto LinkedIn and all the different platforms to get people interested. It's so important to have that kind of recognition as somebody who's helping the community, because without you guys, we can't operate. This is the whole thing. We're a non-for-profit. We're here to give our community the best possible experience and the best information and the best support, and that's the best way we can do it, is to give you focused, informative, useful, helpful content that is actually going to enrich your experience and help your career develop.
Well, you brought up 2 points, Jonathan. I just want to reiterate real quick. And our membership is free, so the funding does come through sponsorship from our partners like Microfocus and the channel and alliance partners to support the organization that supports the members. But our members have been involved for so long that our balance of practitioner versus decision makers is roughly 50-50. People started out as practitioners in the early days and worked their way up into the management of these areas with teams underneath them. And so that's one of the questions I get from partners. Well, practitioners don't buy. I said, well, number one, practitioners recommend. That's key, because they know what's good for their company. And two, our members have been members for a long time, and they moved up into the management chains to support their organization. And yes, they are decision makers. So we have both, the best of both worlds.
No, absolutely. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Rocky. We could literally talk forever, but I will edit this, cut this down into a 15-minute slot of the best of Rocky, which is going to be it'd be like Rocky 1, 2, 3, all put together. I'll have to jump up at the end or something, but it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. 20 years. You've probably got the most experience. Ask you anything on in ITOM and beyond is going to be our go-to person. But so thanks so much again, and you keep up the good work, and if there's anything we can do to help or the community can do to support this messaging, just keep on going.
Thanks, Jonathan. And it's kind of funny, as growing up, my name has always been Rocco. Through college. And then I got into sales in Chicago. I says, if I use Rocco, they'll think I'm a gangster. But my family always called me Rocky. So I said, well, I better change it to Rocky, because I'm in the south side of Chicago now selling floppy disks, and in 1980. So it's done well. So thanks a lot, Jonathan. This has been fun. Like you said, we could talk for hours.
Perfect.